Imagine being on a ship, lost in the vast uncharted ocean. The waves rock your bones, the wind's howling, and hope is fading. It's been months since you left home. Your stomach growls with hunger, your supplies are running low, and the men around you are whispering about a mutiny. This was the reality for Christopher Columbus and his crew in 1492, just days before one of the most pivotal moments in human history. On October 10th, 1492, aboard Christopher Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria, tension had reached a peak. The men had been at sea for over 2 months. Many had never even seen the ocean before setting sail. The promise of finding new trade routes to the east had filled them with excitement, but now that excitement had turned to fear and desperation. The sailors were just exhausted. The same faces, the same routines, the same endless horizon. Food was becoming scarce. Fresh water was almost gone. Some men were on the brink of starvation. Rumors began to spread that they were sailing towards certain doom, that they'd be swallowed by the sea or left to die in a world without land. By October 10th, the crew had had enough. They gathered in groups, whispering in tense tones. Some demanded to turn back. Others spoke openly of mutiny. The very man who had led them on this daring journey, Christopher Columbus, now stood on the edge of losing his crew, his mission, and possibly his life. Columbus knew the stakes. He was a navigator, an explorer, and a leader. But even he was reaching his limits. He had promised to find land by now, but instead, they were adrift in unknown waters. His own logs from that day reveal his growing anxiety. He wrote of how the men were weary and discontent and how their morale was at its lowest. But Columbus was not ready to give up. He believed, perhaps with a bit of mix of courage and desperation, that land was near. He reminded the crew of the promises made to them. He spoke of the riches that awaited beyond the horizon. He promised rewards to the first man who sighted land. But persuasion alone wouldn't be enough. So, on the evening of October 10th, Columbus made a bold move. He agreed to sail for 3 more days. If they didn't find land by then, he vowed that they would return home. It was a gamble, a promise with no guarantee, but it bought some time. The crew, though skeptical, agreed to continue for now. The next few days were some of the most grueling in the entire voyage. The men sailed in silence, eyes constantly scanning the horizon. Hope flickered, then dimmed, then flickered again. Columbus kept a constant watch, charting their course carefully. He knew they were sailing into uncharted territory, a place no European had ever seen. On the morning of October 11th, a strange excitement began to ripple through the ship. A few men claimed to see a glimmer in the distance, perhaps a light. Columbus ordered the men to keep watch. That night, the crew took turns, staring into the darkness, hoping for a sign. By October 12th, the air was thick with anticipation. Just before dawn, one of the lookouts on the Santa Maria shouted, "Land! Land ho!" The men rushed to the sails, cheering, crying, and embracing each other. After nearly 3 months at sea, they had finally found land. The land they sighted was not the east, as Columbus had hoped, but it was what's known today as Bahamas, which he would later name San Salvador. Unaware that they had reached the Americas, Columbus recorded in his journal that they had found the Indies. This misunderstanding would shape the course of history. The discovery marked the beginning of the European exploration and colonization of the New World. It opened the doors to exchange of goods, ideas, and people between the old and the new worlds, what historians now call the Columbian Exchange. But it also led to tragic consequences for the indigenous peoples who had lived there for thousands of years. For Columbus and his crew, October 12th, 1492 was a day of triumph. They had proven doubters wrong, they had sailed into the unknown and returned with stories of a new world. And through the mutiny had almost ended everything. Columbus's leadership and his willingness to take a chance had changed history forever. So the next time you think of exploration, remember the crew of the Santa Maria. The men who came close to losing everything, but whose perseverance led them to discover what would echo now for centuries. Thanks everybody for watching today. This is the Daily Passcast, and you can find us on YouTube and TikTok. Come back to the channel every day for more in-depth stories of what happened on this day in history, and we'll see you again tomorrow on October 11th.